So I've been excited to get hands-on with Star Wars Outlaws on Switch 2. It's for a few reasons, but mostly there's been some, let's say, mixed feedback in the lead up to launch. But I wanted to see for myself how many of these issues are actually present in the full release. Well, now I can say I've lived and breathed this game for the past 24 hours. The codes came in kind of late, but I put in the time and honestly, it impresses. Now, if performance is all you care about, frame rate, all that good stuff, I've added chapters, so you can jump straight to that section. But for everyone else, this is going to be a full review. The good, the bad, and the mediocre. Now, if you do enjoy this video, do me a favor, hit subscribe. We're still a smaller channel, so that support, it makes a huge difference. So first of all, the Switch 2 release comes as a gold edition. That means you're not just getting the base game, but also the Wildcard and Pirate's Fortune story packs, the Jabba's Gambit mission, plus bundles like the Kessel Runner, Hunter's Legacy, and Cartel Ronin. It's a lot of content right out of the gate, and while I won't spoil specifics, the added story material definitely appreciated. But what is that narrative setup? Well, it's an original story. It's set firmly between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. You play as K-Fess, a thief trying to carve out a life in the galactic underworld. It's classic Star Wars grit, crime syndicates, imperial entanglements, and a galaxy that really has very little patience. The story packs then, they build on this same concept. Now on the gameplay side then, this is very much an Ubisoft experience. A massive map packed with markers, so bounties, collectibles, side quests, you name it, it's here. And yeah, basically when you zoom out after a few hours, it honestly starts to resemble a Jackson Pollock painting. It is honestly, it's a joke of course, but it's also true, the sheer amount of icons can be overwhelming. For some, that's going to feel like bloat. For others, it's comfort food. Personally, I kind of fall somewhere in the middle. I like having things to do, but I also wish the game trusted itself a little bit more to let the big moments just breathe. Exploration though is really where this game shines. Jetting across planets on your speeder is just great fun. I lost track of time more than once just cruising across the dunes, and it gave me that kind of Star Wars fantasy, a bit scrappy, a bit lonely, but undeniably cool. The space battles as well, they're simple, sure, but they absolutely capture that dogfight thrill. Now they aren't as complex as say something like Squadrons, but when you're weaving through lasers and ships are exploding around you, yeah, it just clicks basically. What ties it all together though is the mission structure, and I really like how they did it. It adds consistency, it shows you kind of the very beginning through to the very end. And the opening mission, where you're repairing the Trailblazer and meeting contacts, it's just great fun because you can see this character slowly being pulled into the underworld. It sets the tone perfectly. And then as you progress, you'll pivot into things much bigger, like infiltrating Imperial bases. You'll be sneaking through fence, cutting power, hoping alarms don't go off, or just bracing yourself if they do. It's that blend, kind of grounded introductions followed by large-scale infiltrations. It makes the world and the general, direction feel in control rather than just busy work. Now, combat, unfortunately, is where things for me start to feel uneven. The gunplay is fine. It's fun enough in the moment, if anything, but the blaster never really has the punch I wanted. After a few firefights, I found myself craving that crunchy snap you'd get in something like Battlefront, but it never lands there. Modding helps a little bit, and by that I mean you can tweak your blaster, your speeder, your ship, even Kay herself. But again, the variety just isn't there. Most of the time, in fact, you're actually relying on a single weapon in this game, with the occasional throwaway pickup. Stealth then is another mixed bag. Now I don't mind simple stealth, and that's what it is here. If it works, it's perfect. Sometimes as well, slipping past enemies, clearing a room quietly, it feels great. But when a stormtrooper spots you through a solid wall or an object, the tension just vanishes instantly. Now it didn't happen frequently, maybe just a couple of times, but when it does, it just kind of kills the moment and in turn kind of destroys the entire mission. I also as well hit a small bug right at the start of the game. I do want to say this. In the first couple of missions, the way marker, the little indicator showing you where to go, it either took a full minute to appear or it required me to actually move out of the area before it popped up. Now these opening missions fortunately are quite linear, so it never derailed progress, but it was frustrating. Now fortunately, after about half an hour, the issue corrected itself. I didn't see it again, but it's worth mentioning. But overall, this game, it's kind of the Ubisoft formula, loads to do, Some systems that feel great, others that feel undercooked. And I think Ubisoft themselves are kind of starting to realize this. I mean, look at Assassin's Creed Mirage. They stripped it down, they focused the experience, and I think personally that one benefited massively. I'd love to see that come to the Switch 2, in fact. Outlaws, by comparison, sometimes feels like it's still carrying way too much weight. Now, before moving on, I do quickly then want to call out something for Switch players, and I think you'll genuinely appreciate this. Motion controls have been fully integrated. You've got a whole suite of options, and my favorite part is motion aiming. You can set it so it only kicks in when you're down sights or scoped. It works beautifully. It's smooth, accurate, and it makes lining up shots so much more satisfying. It's not just a nice feature, it shows this port wasn't done lazily, and some real thought went into tailoring it for Switch fans, and I think honestly, in the experience, it more than pays off. So basically, for gameplay, when it all comes together, Outlaws can be fantastic. The thrill of blasting across a desert on your speeder, great fun. The tension of sneaking through an Imperial compound, yeah, it works. Or even those linear kind of good luck missions, I call them. Basically, the game drops you in against a station full of stormtroopers, and yeah, says, well, now try and get out. Those are the moments that stick with you. The parts where I leaned forward in my chair, grinning because it just felt like Star Wars. Now onto visuals, and I know there were some complaints online about this game being ugly, but personally I'm impressed. In fact, I'm really impressed. When you compare Switch 2 to something like the Steam Deck, which is a much fairer matchup than, well, at least the big consoles, what it is pulling off here really shines. Now, out of curiosity, I did put it side by side with PC. That video will actually be coming to the channel very soon. I'll link it below. But honestly, look, having this full adventure on Switch 2 with all of its content, it just makes sense. The handheld advantage is real, and it's where this game actually really clicked with me with the amount of content. Now, of course, it's not perfect. I ran into a small glitch, for example. Pausing the game causes a flicker on the character model in the menu. Not in the game, just the menu. Then there's the character's hair. It is bloody awful. The aliasing there, it's just hard to ignore. Certain textures aren't much better. Explosions in particular, in fact, they look like they're stuck back in 480p. Add to that then popping as well. You will notice that pretty often in busy environments. So yeah, basically what you're going to get here is some rough edges. But people should also be aware I turned off the film grain effect. With it on, the preset does a decent job of masking some of these issues. With it off, as I play, the problems like aliasing and popping definitely more noticeable. This all said though, the positives just far outweigh the nitpicks. The world design is consistently impressive, animations are smooth, characters look good, and despite the sheer size of the game, load screens are surprisingly rare. I was also impressed with the UI, because in handheld you can adjust things like text size and waypoint size. Again, makes a huge difference and shows care went in. And then lighting in particular really stood out. From the glow of the cantinas to the sunlight cutting across the world, it looked seriously good throughout. And outside of on for action then, the space sequences, really impressive. Flying through debris fields, chasing down ships, it all looked super sharp and cinematic. The cutscenes too, the pre-rendered ones, carry over beautifully. They're as detailed here as any other platform, and it really helps sell those story beats. And look, all of these positives, the same goes for handheld too. I was impressed. If you want to see the full handheld gameplay, that's over on Start Screen. I've linked that full video below. And that leads us to performance, and this was kind of the big question over the experience. And there's been noise online, we know that, about drops and instability, but honestly, I'd say disregard most of that. It is possible early hands-on demos were based on older builds, or maybe just the criticism was overblown, but my time with the final release has been a pleasure. I tested a whole lot of things here, core missions, side missions, big space battles, open world exploration, and I struggled to capture meaningful frame drops. Now, there were the occasional stutters, more maybe frame pacing hiccups if anything, but overall, I found it to be stable and smooth. Now, some people are going to ask here, is it 60 FPS? No. Would I love that? Absolutely. But what matters more is that it's consistent. A stable presentation makes the experience enjoyable. And that's exactly what I found here. Maybe in the future, an unlocked option could be interesting, but as it stands, fans are going to have a blast. I did hit a couple of stability quirks worth mentioning. Across my marathon sessions to get this done, I had a few hard crashes, 2 in fact, Nothing that lost progress thanks to frequent checkpoints, but still frustrating. But yeah, look, given how long I was also playing, it could also be an issue with that, so do be aware. It's also something I believe Ubisoft will quickly patch out. Then, finally, let's talk about audio. This is everything you'd want from Star Wars. The music is spot on, orchestral, sweeping, instantly recognizable, and it elevates even the quieter moments. The voice acting is strong too. Kay and the supporting cast are packed with personality, and the performance quality, it makes these characters land. But the real star is the sound design. Blasters crack, speeders roar, ships rumble, and the ambient sound of locations, it pulls you into the world, from the hum of neon-lit cantinas to the clanks of Imperial bases. It just feels authentic. It nails that Star Wars tech grit where everything sounds like it's been lived in. So overall impressions? Well, I hope you can tell I'm impressed. Star Wars Outlaws on Switch 2, yeah, it isn't perfect, but it surprised me. You know, from a port perspective, I think it's one of the better ones we've actually seen this far on Switch 2. I also think it's thoughtful, well optimized, and it packs features like motion controls. It shows real care went into it. From a gameplay perspective, it's a little bit more complicated, a bit of a mixed bag, you know, issues. The blaster lacks punch, stuff can break immersion, and Ubisoft's bloat. It just means things can feel a little undercooked. And I think generally that's actually what keeps this from being a great game. Instead, what we have here is a good one. And in my book, it's a good 7 out of 10. But for all of its flaws, the highs are still worth it. The thrill of a speeder ride across the desert, the tension of sneaking through an Imperial base, or the chaos of a space battle, you know, ships flying apart around you. Those are the moments where it feels like Star Wars, and fans, I think, will love it. And yeah, for me, it was also enough to carry it. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Are you planning to jump into Outlaws on Switch 2? You're going to be maybe waiting for a bit, see if a sale drops pretty quickly. Either way, I'll be covering plenty more Switch 2 games right here, so hit subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers all.